They said I would fail, that I was wasting my time. Now they beg me for help, and I'm the one in control. I'm Victoria Carter, and for as long as I can remember, my family has treated me like I was invisible. My father, a successful businessman who had built his empire from the ground up, always told me I didn't have the drive to follow in his footsteps. Get a real job, he would say. Stop chasing dreams, Victoria. My mother, ever the perfectionist, constantly compared me to my older brother Kyle, who seemed to have everything: a steady job, a perfect life. To them, I was the failure, the one who couldn't get it together. The day I told them I was quitting college to start my own business, they laughed. My father shook his head in disbelief. You'll never make it. You're throwing your life away. My mother sighed, a deep disappointment in her eyes. Maybe you should just accept that you'll never be good enough. But in that moment, something inside me snapped. I wasn't going to be like them. I wasn't going to follow their path or live a life that didn't feel true to who I was. I left their house that day, determined to prove them wrong. I found a small apartment and threw myself into building my business. The first few months were brutal, barely scraping by, working long hours, sacrificing everything I had. I barely had enough for food, let alone rent, but I kept pushing forward. My family, they didn't believe in me. One day, when I could barely make it through another sleepless night, I received a message from an influencer who wanted to collaborate with me. It wasn't much, just a small order, but it was the first sign that maybe, just maybe, all my hard work was starting to pay off. And that was when I knew I wasn't a failure. I was building something bigger than they could ever imagine, but they still couldn't see it. They still mocked me, called my business a hobby, and told me to get a real job. But I kept working, kept grinding, because every sale, every step forward, felt like I was getting closer to proving them wrong. Then, the breakthrough came. I hit my first 100 in sales. Not a fluke, not luck, real, hard-earned money. And that was just the beginning. The first few months after hitting 100 in sales were a whirlwind. The business was growing, and I felt like I was on the brink of something big. Every day, new opportunities seemed to pop up out of nowhere. I had expanded my product line, partnered with more influencers, and was finally seeing the fruits of my hard work. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. Despite the success, there was a constant, gnawing feeling inside me. My family still didn't believe in me. I hadn't told them about the 100 yet, but I knew it wouldn't be enough. They had written me off for so long, just a dreamer, a failure. How could I show them that this was real? Every family dinner was a reminder of my place in their eyes. They asked about my business, but it was always in the same tone of condescension. Still selling your little things online? My dad would ask, as if my success was some kind of fleeting trend. And James, always the one with the perfect life, would offer a well-meaning yet dismissive, "You should really consider a backup plan." Their words hurt more than I was willing to admit. But what stung the most wasn't their judgment, it was their complete lack of belief in me. They couldn't see past their own definition of success, and it left me feeling isolated. Like no matter what I did, it would never be enough for them. That's when I decided to take things to the next level. As much as I hated admitting it, I was craving their approval. I wanted them to see me for the person I was becoming, not the girl who had dropped out of college, not the one they'd constantly judged. So, I made a plan. I wasn't going to tell them about my success until I had something bigger, something that would shut them up for good. I ramped up my efforts. Every waking moment was spent growing my business. I invested in ads, optimized my website, and expanded my reach internationally. It felt like everything was falling into place. But then the unexpected happened. The day I received an email from a major retail brand was the day my life changed forever. They wanted to carry my products in their stores. This was the big break I'd been waiting for. My stomach dropped as I stared at the email. This was the real deal. This wasn't just an online business anymore. It was about to go global. I knew, without a doubt, that I had to tell my family now. But I wasn't going to do it in the same way I had before. I wasn't going to wait for their approval or ask for their validation. I was going to show them. That weekend, I invited my parents and James over for dinner. They had no idea what was coming. I had been playing the humble card for months, downplaying my success, but this time, I was ready. After the meal, I casually mentioned that I had some exciting news to share. As they waited, I pulled up my dashboard and showed them the new deal. A major retail brand was going to carry my products in their stores. And it wasn't just one store, it was going to be a nationwide launch. The numbers flashed across the screen. 500, zero in projected sales from this deal alone. The room fell silent. My dad, who had always been the skeptic, was the first to speak. "You did this?" His voice was barely above a whisper. "How? This is huge." James, usually the first to make a sarcastic comment, was speechless. His jaw dropped as he stared at the screen, processing the reality of what I had just achieved. My mom, who had always been quietly supportive but never fully believed, just stared at me, her eyes wide with disbelief. I didn't wait for their praise. I simply said, "This isn't a fluke, this is real. I did this on my own." And for the first time in my life, I saw something in their eyes I had never seen before: respect. But just as I was basking in the glow of my success, an unexpected call came. It was from my mom, and her voice was trembling. "Victoria, we need your help," she said, sounding desperate. "Your father's business is in financial trouble. We've tried everything, and now we have no other choice. We need you to help us." I felt a mix of emotion shock, anger, and an overwhelming sense of power. All those years of rejection, all the times they told me I wasn't good enough now, they needed me. I wasn't sure how to feel. Part of me wanted to say no, to make them realize how much they had hurt me, but then I thought about it. I had worked hard for this moment. I had built my empire from nothing, and it wasn't just about proving them wrong anymore. It was about using my success to help others, and maybe, just maybe, helping my family understand that success doesn't come from following the expected path. I told them I needed time to think. As I hung up the phone, I realized how far I had come. They had doubted me, but I had proven myself. And now, I had the power to make my own decisions. The question was, what would I do next? The decision to help my family hung over me like a dark cloud. On one hand, I wanted to prove that I had made it on my own, that I didn't need anyone's help. On the other, there was a part of me that knew I couldn't just turn my back on them. They were my family, after all. But after years of watching them look down on me, of being the one left behind, I wasn't sure how much I could take. The anger that had been building up inside me finally bubbled to the surface. The bitterness I felt from all the times they'd told me I'd fail, the way they laughed at my dream sit, was overwhelming. That evening, my phone rang. It was my father, and I almost didn't pick up. The last thing I wanted was to hear another apology from him. But I did. "Victoria, I know you're angry, and I understand why. I should have supported you from the start. But the business, it's failing. We're on the brink of losing everything. I need you, your mother, and I. We don't know who else to turn to." The words stung, but it wasn't just anger I felt. It was power, the power I'd fought for, the power to make my own decisions. My father, once the one who dismissed my efforts, was now asking me for help, and it was hard not to feel a sense of satisfaction at that moment. I had worked so hard to get here. My business wasn't just thriving, it was my empire. Yet here they were, now seeing me as their only hope. It didn't sit well with me, but I knew I had a choice to make. That night, I lay awake, tossing and turning. Could I really help them? After all the years of neglect, of their refusal to believe in me, was it worth it? But I knew deep down, this was a pivotal memento test of my character. I made my decision. I would help, but on my terms. The next day, I called my father. "I'll help," I said, my voice steady. "But it's not going to be a handout. I'm going to come in and take control. I'll oversee everything. If you want my help, you're going to have to trust me fully." There was a pause on the other end of the line. "What do you mean, take control?" My father's voice was full of skepticism. "I mean exactly that," I replied. "I'm not going to just throw money at this. I'm going to rebuild it from the ground up. We're going to modernize, automate, and expand. This is my business now, too." His voice softened. You really think you can turn this around? After all these years? I didn't hesitate. Yes, I do. And I'll do it with or without you. The silence that followed was deafening, but when he finally spoke again, I could hear a new respect in his voice. All right, Victoria, you've got your chance. As I walked into my father's office a few days later, I could feel the eyes of everyone in the room on me. My family, my father's business partners, everyone, was watching to see what I would do next. I began making changes immediately. The business was outdated, no modern strategies, no digital presence. It was a mess. I started by hiring a new marketing team, revamping our social media strategy, and getting rid of the dead weight in the company. Every decision I made felt like a revolution in a place that had never seen such bold moves. The shock on my family's faces was evident. I wasn't just there to help, I was taking over, showing them how it was done. They had no choice but to follow my lead. Slowly, I could see them starting to respect Menno just as a daughter, but as the businesswoman I had become. But the real turning point came when I closed a deal with a major retail chain that would take our products to hundreds of new stores. When I brought the news to my family, my father looked at me with awe. I didn't think you could do it, but you just did. I smiled, knowing this was only the beginning. This was my empire, and I wasn't going to let anyone, especially my family, take that away from me. A week later, my father came to me, his usual confident demeanor shaken. Victoria, I know you've been handling things well, but I'm wondering if you'll still need my help. You've turned things around so quickly, and now that the business is back on track, I'm not sure where I fit in anymore. That question hit me harder than I expected. I had finally won, but at what cost? For years, I had craved my father's approval, but now, I had something even better: my independence, my strength, and the respect I'd fought so hard to earn. I realized that while I could help my family, I wasn't going to let their doubts define me anymore. Dad, I said softly, you'll always be a part of this, but I'm leading it now. I've built this from the ground up, and this empire is mine. We'll move forward together, but on my terms. For the first time, I saw him nod, acknowledging the truth in my words. The power had shifted. The more I took control of the business, the more my family began to look at me differently. But even then, there was a lingering feeling that I had to prove myself more than just with my business. Yes, my success was undeniable, but I still felt the weight of their doubt in their eyes. It wasn't just about turning the business around, it was about me proving my worth to them as a daughter, a sister, and a leader. Then came the moment I had been working toward for years. I got an invitation to speak at a major industry conference. This was huge. It was my chance to show not only my family, but the entire business world that I wasn't just a side project anymore. I was a serious entrepreneur. I was ready to make a real mark. I knew this was my time to completely shift the power dynamics. I had already made a fortune, but now I could cement my position. The family would see me not just as someone who succeeded despite their expectations, but as someone who had built a real legacy. I flew out to the conference, stood on that stage in front of thousands of people, and delivered the most powerful speech of my life. I spoke about perseverance, about the struggle of being constantly underestimated, and how that gave me the strength to keep going. I talked about turning failure into opportunity, and how the business world needed to start recognizing the value of the underdog. As I spoke, the crowd was silent, listening intently. I could feel their admiration. I could feel the shift in the room. And when I finished, the applause was deafening. This was my moment. The moment when everything came full circle. When I returned from the conference, my family was waiting for me. I could see the curiosity in their eyes. My father, who had once dismissed me as a dreamer, was silent for a long time. Then, he spoke. Victoria, that speech. I didn't expect that. His voice was softer, almost humble. You really showed them. I'm proud of you. For the first time, pride, not just respect, was in his voice. But it wasn't just him. My mom, who had always been the quietly supportive one, now looked at me with a new understanding. She didn't just see the daughter she had always tried to mold. She saw a leader, someone who had forged her own path. But then, just when I thought the power had completely shifted, something unexpected happened. Later that evening, as we sat down for dinner, my father cleared his throat. "Victoria," he began, "I've been thinking about our business. I still don't fully understand all the changes you made, but I can't deny the results. However, I have a proposition for you." I paused, the excitement I'd felt earlier starting to turn into a knot in my stomach. Was he finally asking for help? Was this another offer to take over and make me part of his empire? "I want you to come work with me," he said, his words slow and deliberate. "We've built something together over the years, but you've shown me what real innovation looks like. I want you to join forces with me. We can make the business even bigger. You've proven yourself, Victoria. It's time you take your place at the top." My stomach churned. This was it, the ultimate test, the moment I had been waiting for. My father, the man who had rejected me for so long, was finally offering me the position I had worked so hard to earn. But there was a catch. I wasn't sure I was ready to give up everything I had built. This was my empire now, and to join his business meant losing my autonomy. I thought about how far I had come, how much I had sacrificed to build something on my own. Was I really ready to let go of that freedom? I stood up, looking around the room at my family. My father, my mother, my brother, they were all waiting for my answer. They had finally acknowledged my success, but now it was up to me to decide whether to take the reins in their world or continue forging my own path. "Dad," I said, my voice steady, "I appreciate everything you've done for me, and I respect the offer, but I've built something for myself, and I can't just walk away from it. I've worked too hard, and this empire is mine. I'm not going to let it go." The room went silent. My father's face hardened for a moment, but then he nodded. "I get it. I've spent so many years thinking I knew what was best for you, but I see now that I was wrong. You've proven yourself. You've built something that's yours, and I respect that. Maybe, just maybe, it's time for me to step back." For the first time, I realized that this was my victory. It wasn't just about the money or the business, it was about choosing my own path, no longer confined by my family's expectations. I had built something from the ground up, and now I had the power to shape my future however I saw fit. I sat at my desk, staring out at the skyline, the city I had built my empire in. The morning sun cast a warm glow across the city, but inside, I was still grappling with the weight of the decision I had made. My father's offer to join his business had been a turning point tone that I never thought I would face, but now that I had made my choice, I couldn't help but feel a sense of clarity. The phone rang, breaking my thoughts. It was my mother. "Victoria, we need to talk," she said, her voice softer than usual. "Your father, he's been upset. He thinks you're angry at him. But we both know you've worked so hard to get to where you are. We never wanted to hold you back." I paused, taking a deep breath. This was the moment I had been waiting for, the final step in healing the rift between me and my family. I had proven myself, not for them, but for me. I had carved my own path and made my own decisions. And now, it was time to acknowledge that I had the power to choose my future, not just in business, but in my relationship with them as well. "I'm not angry," I said softly. "I'm just focused on my future. I'm building something that's mine, and I need to see it through. I've worked too hard to let it go." There was a long silence on the other end of the line. Finally, my mother spoke again, her voice filled with a mix of regret and pride. "You've always had the potential, Victoria. I see that now. I wish we had seen it sooner. We're proud of you. And I just want you to be happy." Hearing those words, for the first time, felt like a weight had been lifted. It wasn't just about the business anymore. It wasn't even about the millions I had earned. It was about freedom, the freedom to be who I wanted to be, to make decisions for myself, and to carve my own destiny. As I hung up the phone, I reflected on everything that had led me here. The rejection, the long nights of doubt, the fear of failure, the isolation. But through all of that, I had built an empire. I had proven that I was capable of greatness, without their approval. In the weeks that followed, I continued to grow my business, but now with a new sense of purpose. It wasn't just about making money anymore, it was about creating a legacy. I began expanding into new markets, launching new product lines, and building a team of passionate individuals who shared my vision. The more I succeeded, the more I realized that I was no longer working for validation. I was working for myself, and that was the most freeing feeling in the world. But as my business grew, I also made a conscious decision to keep my family close, though on my terms. I realized that my journey wasn't just about proving them wrong, it was about forging new relationships, one built on mutual respect and understanding. One evening, after closing a major deal with an international client, I received another call. This time, it was from my father. He sounded different, more humble, more understanding. "Victoria," he said, "I know I've made mistakes. I want you to know that I respect the path you've chosen. You've done something I never thought possible. Your success is yours, and I'm proud of you." I could feel the sincerity in his voice. The tables had turned. But instead of holding on to resentment, I realized that my father's acknowledgement was part of my own growth. We didn't need to agree on everything, but we had reached a place where we both respected each other. One afternoon, as I looked out at the city from my office, I reflected on how far I had come. My parents had been right about one thing. They had no idea what I was capable of. But I was no longer focused on their approval. I was focused on my future, and it was brighter than I had ever imagined. I knew there would always be challenges ahead, more obstacles to overcome, and more decisions to make. But for the first time, I felt like I had everything I needed to succeed. I had self-belief, the strength to keep moving forward, and a clear vision of where I wanted to go. The journey wasn't over, it was just beginning. And this time, I wasn't doing it alone. As I looked at my reflection in the glass window, I knew one thing for sure. This was my empire, and I was ready to take it even further. Victoria's journey from being doubted and rejected by her family to building a $1 million empire is nothing short of inspiring. If you've ever felt underestimated or faced challenges on your way to success, her story is a reminder that anything is possible with determination and self-belief. If you were inspired by Victoria's story, like this video and share it with anyone who needs to hear that they too can overcome obstacles and rise above doubt. You never know who might need that push to keep going. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more real-life inspired stories of resilience, empowerment, and triumph. Hit the bell icon so you never miss an update on these incredible transformations. We want to hear your story too. Leave a comment below and share how you've overcome challenges or defied expectations. Your voice matters, and together, we can inspire each other to keep moving forward.